Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Unboxed. We ran into a little technical difficulties there a moment ago. We got everything cleared up, and I'm glad that you are still here with us today. So we're talking today about why leaders and pastors struggle with such self-esteem issues, and we're really going to get into this subject. So before we get started, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. We want to talk about leaders and self-esteem, and trust me, we could go on all day, but I'm just going to give you some quick, short tidbits and then we'll move on. All right, stick around. We'll be right back. I'm Dr. Robert Davis, family life educator and relationship coach, and welcome to Unboxed, a frank and straightforward conversation about relationships. We're going to talk about family, church, workplace, and all other types of relationships. Join me for the next few moments as we unbox the power and potential of relationships and help you to live your best life. Hey everyone, welcome back once again to Unboxed. So glad that you joined us today. We're talking about the leader's self-esteem and really trying to dig into that. And I want to go back to what we were addressing on our last broadcast. The last time that we met, we talked about being other focused. And a lot of times our self-esteem issues arise from us being other focused. And let me say it this way. I don't know which comes first, the chicken or the egg. Do we become other focused because we have self-esteem issues, or we have self-esteem issues because we become other focused? And the last time I met with you, we talked about being other focused. And let me define it again. Other focused is where my energy and my attention is on what the others are doing, what other people are thinking, how other people are performing, how other people are showing up, instead of putting the main energy on where it needs to be, and that is on self. Serenity Prayer 2.0 says, Lord, grant me the serenity to accept that I cannot change others, the courage to change the only person that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And so, that's vitally, vitally important. All right. So I want to get in today and talk about how self-esteem shows up in the life of the leaders. And I say the life of pastors because pastors are leaders. Pastors are executive directors. Pastors are CEOs. I mean, they kind of like cover everything. They wear so many different hats. But it's not just pastors, it's all leaders. And every leader that I've ever, had an opportunity to work with, either on a friendship level, whether it is counseling or whether it is through coaching, every leader I have noticed struggles with self-esteem. And I try not to overgeneralize, but this is one of the times where I can actually say, every single leader I have ever had the chance of really working with struggles with some form of self-esteem issues. So before I talk about other leaders, let me talk about how self-esteem issues show up in my own personal life, how it showed up in my own personal life. And that is that I was very obsessed with hitting goals and meeting objectives and getting things accomplished. And I know that you say to yourself, well, man, that's a good thing. You should be goal focused and you should get things accomplished and you should be a go-getter and get things done. But here's the challenge with that. When you are goal focused and when you are goal obsessed for the purpose of impressing others, then what ends up happening is you end up leaving a wake of dead bodies behind you. And so I noticed that I was hitting all of my goals. I've been in several building projects, knocked them out the park. Every church I've ever gone to have been successful in the community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm very proud of my pastoral record. But here's the catch. I've noticed that in my pastoral leadership that would end up happening is either I would roll folk over or I would drag them with me. Roll folk over meant that if I thought someone was in my way, I just bowled them over. And even those who were trying to support, I was dragging them along with because I was moving so fast and getting things done so quickly that rather than bringing my team along with me, I was just dragging. And, they had scraped up knees and scraped up elbows, but we got to the finish line. And isn't that the biggest and most important thing? Again, that goes back to being other focus. So let me just share with you 4 things. I just shared with you the first one, my own personal struggle and challenge, and the 4 areas where self-esteem manifests itself in the life of the leader is the leader being goal obsessed to impress. That's number 1, goal obsessed to impress. The second way that self-esteem shows up in the life of the leader is needing affirmation and recognition. needing affirmation and recognition. And there are a lot of leaders who need to be petted and patted on the back and said, hey, champion, you got it. You're going to do this. You're great. Go for it. And they really need, and without that, it just their whole mood and temperament, everything changes if they're not given that, attaboy, you can do it. Come on, girl, let's knock it out. Rah, rah, rah. We need the cheerleaders from the, from the balcony and on the field. The third way that self-esteem manifests itself in the life of a leader and in the leader's leadership is through needing acceptance. And there's some leaders that kind of like need to be with the in crowd. When I lived in DC, I used to listen to a go-go band called Rare Essence, and they used to crank this young call, I'm in with the in crowd, and I go where the in crowd goes. And when you're with the in crowd, you know what the in crowd knows. And I'm not gonna lie, that joint used to crank. But but that's how some leaders are. They need to be with the in crowd. They need to be accepted. If there's a barbecue, it would crush them if the team had some kind of a party or a barbecue and they weren't invited to it, or, they weren't on the inner circle. Being on the outside position is just so difficult for certain leaders. And again, that goes back to the self-esteem issue. That goes back to being other focused. And the fourth one that I'm going to share with you, and then we're going to close out. The fourth one is needing validation. So you're wondering, what is the difference between needing affirmation and needing validation? Needing validation is needing others to acknowledge you're right. It's not just about saying, great job, go get them. But, it's that what you're doing is right. And especially in the area when there's conflict and disagreement, you need people to take our sides. You need people to be on our side. We're the ones that's right. We need people lined up with us. And often leaders and people who need the validation, they get folk to be on their side. Because this natural reciprocity, the people who need validation, there's a group of people who are there to say, I'm on your side. I'm with you all the way. And so one of the first things that I ask leaders to do, and we do a lot of executive coaching. We have a lot of tools. We talk about executive coaching. Put that on up for me. Executive coaching for executives and directors. Keep it this, yes. Executive coaching we have a virtual peer support group. I want you to do me a favor and check that out. You can take the needing validation off so they can see the whole thing. There you go. I want you to check that out. And look at that. If you are an executive, or if you're a director, or you're a leader in your company or whatever, you definitely want to join one of our virtual peer support groups. We also do the same thing for pastors, and I'm going to show you that as well. We have a pastors peer support group. You definitely want to check in and find out more about that. So let me share this with you in closing. One of the questions that I ask is, and I put 4 things up, and that is, have you taken the time to really identify where you have self-esteem challenges in your own life? Because that's very important. And I lifted out 4. There are many others, I'm sure, that they could be added to that list. I just wanted to identify the 4 top ones that I have seen in my coaching and in my training. So what I encourage all leaders to do, and one of the part of the process that we even do in our support groups, as well as in our executive one-to-one coaching, is helping leaders to identify where their issues of self-esteem and their other focus reveals itself, so that we can show up confident and also show up in our lane and also show up as an authentic leader, not a leader who needs to reach goals, who needs affirmation, who needs acceptance, or who needs validation, but so that we can be the authentic selves that we are. All right, I'm going to end today. We're going to come back tomorrow. We're going to talk a little bit more about leadership and just how we can be the best leaders that we can be, how we can unbox all of our power and potential. But let me close out by telling you a little bit more about our virtual peer support group for executives and directors. And I'll see you next time.
Community leadership can be hard, lonely, and stressful. So if you're an executive director, you're not alone. UnBoxed offers a dynamic peer support group where executive directors can share their hopes, questions, fears, and expertise in a safe, confidential space. For more information about our executive directors support group, email us or visit our UnBoxed website.